I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to do roll call. Bob?
I'm here.
Joe?
Here.
Chris here? Bruce?
Here.
Judy?
Here.
Okay, excused absence, Helene, she's away on work. And unexcused Larry, not here. Could I get a motion to move the minutes to the end of the meeting?
I'll make a motion to move the minutes, the approval of the June 11th minutes to the end of the meeting.
I'll second that.
Joe seconds. On the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, move those to the end of the meeting. Okay, new business, Hudson Valley Flyers.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to pull a chair up?
Okay, so,
State your name, please, for the record.
Burke Schindler.
Okay.
Okay, I filled out the applications for you. So, last month, well, let me back up a little bit. We have the airport up on Freetown Road up there, Old Orchard Air Park. Recently, there's been changes to the federal aviations on the classifications of aircraft and the type of recreational aircraft that we can use. That was done under Mosaic. About mid-February timeframe, I contacted Elizabeth and said, hey, we have a 2016 map. It doesn't have these restrictions on it. Do we need to worry about this? So she spent time talking with the various different boards and said, well, yeah, those rules are in effect. So I said, okay, we're going to need to look at changing those a little bit to be compliant. So filled out the application. We got before the planning board on June 9th. So you'll see the application in the packet there. I submitted everything. The chair and I and the group, we had a long talk, and they said, well, it's the zoning board. And I said, well, no, I have Plattekill Planning Board minutes from 1999 that show the resolution was made by the planning board, but adopted by the ZBA. They said, hey, do you guys agree with this? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. And the planning board took the vote on it. So the chair of the planning board stated he was going to just talk to you guys internally. We had some additional conversations. Elizabeth said, well, do a formal application, come before you guys so we can make it like official. And what he was seeking was a letter from you guys saying, yeah, it's fine if the planning board addresses this and deals with this and kicks it back to him so his hands are untied and he can proceed with a new resolution and doing what they need to do. So I filled out the application, very similar to the planning board application, and submitted that to you guys so that we could get here tonight. And maybe that's some of the confusion as to like what's going on.
What changes are you looking for?
The changes that we're looking for is to keep everything exactly the same as we're operating now. But this paragraph here in section 6, there's a current statement on our 1999 site plan that states limitations of operation hours, things like, such things as like that. What we're looking to do is keep all the hours of operation, everything else, just change the wording a little bit to adopt the new incoming pieces of Mosaic, which changes the way the FAA is looking at things to stall speed and things like that on aircraft rather than horsepower, and it's more inclusive into different types of aircraft. So we're just trying to be compliant with the current regulations, the town, and also making sure that we align because our 2016 map has no restrictions on it. So we're a little out of sync with like the 1999, the 2016 map, and what we're trying to do is get these restrictions with some modifications put back on the map and write it in such a way that as the feds change their regulations every 10, 15 years, we don't have to come back in here and play the alphabet soup with the town because we are a pre-existing non-conforming entity, which creates problems when we try to add the south end piece that we bolted onto our property back in 16. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't, hope that makes sense to you guys.
Well, I have quite a few questions dealing with Mosaic specifically, but also about 2016, because I
Yep.
sat on the board at the time that you got the extension.
Okay?
And I remember at the time you said all your conditions remain the same from the original one, and you agreed to it. You just needed a little more runway and for some of the aircraft that are going up to 185 horsepower or whatever you have.
That's correct.
All right, so we agreed, but all the conditions from 1999 still stayed with the property at that time. And as everybody here knows, Mosaic only controls the aircraft. It has nothing to do with the land. Right,
Right.
we have to do with the land and the use, what you're using it for. Now, Mosaic itself, what are the changes that Mosaic is? See, my problem is, to follow Mosaic, and all the rule changes on there, which are your stall speeds now instead of your weight, which now you're gonna have heavier planes going faster. It opens you up to electric motor ones, gyroscopes, training, night flights. All this
Well-
is in Mosaic. I got the FAA
Well-
guidelines here. It says what you can do.
It is,
Okay.
but the limitations in this paragraph here, we still have all the limitations in that, that's saying no nighttime operations, no operations, sun up to sundown operations, no flying before 7 a.m. on a Sunday, no commercial flight schools or operations based there. So all of those restrictions, we're still trying to keep to be good neighbors, right? Because we don't want to annoy our neighbors. We're not looking to bring in like large aircraft, because the limiting factor to the property that really controls it, according to the FAA, is the length of the runway. And we can't change that because we have the thruway on one side, we have houses on the other, we have Freetown Road in front of us, and on the back side, we have wetlands beyond our south end property that we bought. So the runway is not going to change in length. All those restrictions that are there in that paragraph, we're looking to keep. What we're looking to do is change and say that any aircraft that's legally allowed by the FAA to fly off of a 3,000-foot runway is capable of doing so. And because of the length of that runway, that's going to keep us at the aircraft that we're trying to fly now, instead of like a Cessna Citation coming in. And we're not looking to turn it into commercial operations either.
The FAA does not control private runways. The New York State Department of Transportation controls that. So the FAA is only dealing with the aircraft itself. So when you're talking about Mosaic, and my problem is giving a blank check to Mosaic to change, because it's made by manufacturers, right? It's made by people that fly. They all give input into these rules. They're not FARs, just guidelines, right?
Well, it's
Right.
adopted by the federal government.
So now they said that you have to now no longer go by any mandates from the manufacturer defects or whatever that used to have to follow. Now you have to just go by the FAA mandated rules, changes, fixes, stuff like that. So they're taking away some stuff. They're taking away the weights. You can have retractable landing gear now. I mean, so you got a lot of other crafts that can come into this, higher speeds, more weight. Your runway may or may not. So giving you a blank check on this is my issue. Now, we understand you say you want to do this, but if we give you an opening, and again, it's my view, we give you an opening to where we only follow Mosaic, Mosaic will change in a drop of a hat, as you well know. Tomorrow they can come out with another rule change. They have it coming, what is October is when they have it, the second phase put in.
Well, that's why I wrote
Right.
that the way that I wrote it,
Well-
and didn't list Mosaic specifically in there. I just said an aircraft that's legally allowed to fly off that field.
Yeah.
What's limiting to that is that it's a grass field, so aircraft that are much heavier are not going to be permitted under FAA because they're going to sink into the runway. The types of aircraft that can come in and out of there are limited, because when you open up the pilot operating handbook, it tells you what's the type of surface, grass versus paved, we're not paving it, the length of the runway, and the performance characteristics. So that limits you. So we're not going to be getting high performance, like jets and all kinds of other things that would be noise problems and abatement issues into there, because of the way that's written and because of the length of the runway.
Well, as I watched aviation change over the years, because if you don't know, I've been in aviation since '76. I graduated from school from aviation. So I've been involved in a long time and had an interest in it for a long time. The rules change all the time. Things change all the time. So I'm not out to advocate our responsibilities to a blank check of the government that'll write a policy that's a nationwide policy, not our policy, that's geared to fit the whole country, for guys in Oklahoma that have a different thing. And because the controlled airports, you have no say over. The FAA's got complete control of that. But the privately owned ones. Now, we don't mind working with you. I just don't want to lose complete control to a bureaucratic change and we're stuck eating it. All right? Because you may not be around all the time. The next guy to succeed you may say, hey, we're putting these gyroscopes, or we're putting these parachutes flying in and out, and we got all these other, all the different aviation stuff that's out there. I'm very leery of the battery-powered planes at the time that they're looking to put out there. But what to stop you, these are things I'm concerned with at the time. And we have the neighbors, we have the highway there, we have a lot of potential. Right now, it's been working fine. There's no one's complaining. But the bigger planes, where you can have the turbo props on there, adjustable props, but that's more power. But
Well-
it's in Mosaic, where they can put now, right now you have it where they have to adjust the prop on the ground.
But like Burke said, our biggest limitation is the size of the field. It's never gonna be more than a grass strip.
Getting like a dual
I know
engine.
some guys that would give you a try on that.
It's not
You know,
likely to be.
No.
there's two things there, right? So there's what's legal and what people do, right? So like you could potentially get an aircraft out of a field that is 3,000 foot long grass strip. It doesn't mean that it's legal, and by the FAA, right? So if the FAA was there and one of these aircraft were trying to take off, the pilot could be in a lot of trouble, including up to and losing their license. So the field is really dictating what we have there. What we're trying to do is just keep it so that like some of the additional aircraft can open up and we can, people that don't have a private pilot's license anymore and that are using Mosaic or Light Sport are able to fly these aircraft on a different set of requirements. So we're really not changing anything, and really what Mosaic did is open it up for older people to be able to fly the older aircraft and not have it be as problematic for them.
I would personally prefer if what you ask for is more in the scope of your usage, not following Mosaic alone, because Mosaic is too broad for me to say, and they're too easy to change. And once we say, okay, I don't care what the agreement is, we say, well, you can follow Mosaic, that trumps this agreement, because we said, whatever Mosaic changes, we're gonna follow. And that's the technicality involved in that. You may not do that, but it's the next guy behind you. Someone that comes 10 years after you, what do we do then? The neighborhood changes, these planes are getting bigger. That when you go with landing gear, retractable landing gear, you're gonna be faster. When you're doing a stall speed now, at, what is it now, 65 knots or something like that?
61 knots.
What?
61 knots.
61 knots. So now your speed is up. Yeah. So there's a lot of dynamics that are involved in this and noise is going to go up with a bigger plane, all the.
Well, I
but
have,
you guys-
I actually have from the FAA here, if you need it, I have copies of, various aircraft and their noises. So the noise of a tractor trailer by the New York State DOT coming down the thruway with Jake brakes is 90 decibels.
I haven't heard any complaints about the airport as
You know.
far as any of that, and we said this the last time we did the runway extension. We don't mind working with the people, I don't, but I want the scope of what you do not to be so easily
So broad.
obscure, so broad.
So what
So if you
exactly
put the
would-
scope in what you're looking for,
Well, what
then
exactly,
that's what we can agree with.
with section 6 here, if you read that, what exactly
Right.
do you not agree with that?
Once we say we're gonna allow you to follow Mosaic guidelines,
Well, we're not asking for Mosaic. I'm asking
Right.
specifically for that language in paragraph 6 there.
The general guidelines. It actually
So,
doesn't
so
feel
they
like-
don't want Mosaic, they want,
no,
so,
but they're mentioning it, so, when they talk to us and they put it
It's
on
a-
their paperwork, they say they wanna follow.
The
Because you
application
got rid of
asks,
the LSA is gone, right? So,
It is.
so LSA is gone, and they went to this new definition and
And-
the new
and
guidelines.
technically, even when this was set up in 1999, it was set up incorrectly, right? Because light sport is a type of license, okay, for a pilot. It has nothing to do with an operations of an airport, and it has nothing to do with operations of the aircraft, because I have a commercial license, right? I can fly just the same things as a light sport can, but I can also fly additional things. So the definition that was given in 1999, and we can't go back and unwrite what we did, but was really not correct, okay, at the time, because the definition and really the scope of the restrictions that are on our 1999 map are direct verbiage of light sport aircraft, which A, no longer exists, and B, is not correct because it's a definition of a pilot certificate, it's not operations.
But again, even here, you say align with the definitions and all this other stuff. Once you say that, that's superseding any other agreement we have, because this alignment is gonna say we agree to this alignment. And including with Mosaic, you're allowed to do nighttime landings, right?
Oh, I thought that was restricted.
Well,
No, well, it's on their I got it right here and printed. So these are things that you guys aren't doing it, you haven't done it. But,
we wouldn't be allowed to
But-
because we don't have lights.
you don't have lights today, you have lights tomorrow. I mean,
Wow.
it's,
yeah, we're,
The cost of that is prohibitive for what we're doing because
Today.
we don't have the monies for that.
with the LEDs and, you get one rich guy moving his neighborhood, you got it done. He wants to come in from New York
Yeah.
City to land,
Well, the problem with it is you're still under the control of the FAA because things like
only in the air.
now lighting and on surface controls and towers and stuff like that are under the FAA. So we would need
Now you're changing the scope from, the type of airport or runway that you are. Once you start doing that, you fall into a different category of type of, runway that you have. Right now, it's a private airstrip. So you, right now, you got, running the guidelines, if you start putting control towers up and doing
Well,
this
you're
and
saying
that,
that lights
you're
and
now
doing
way
things-
off the beam.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
your point is you're
that's-
talking about
That's what I'm
lights.
talking about, lights too. You start changing, if you're using them for landing, now you've changing the scope of what your thing is. And next thing you know, you have the control towers up there and doing the VIR and all this other stuff. So I just don't want
And
a
mosaic.
broad aspect that we got our hands tied to say, look, we agreed to this and we're done. It's not just for me, it's future board, future members in this neighborhood. And all I'm asking is you tell us what you need, and we're pretty good about that. You know, and if it's written down such that, yes, if something changes in the future, you know what, you're burdened to have to come back in and see what life is that time with the people that are running the town board. Who knows, it could be a 30-story building up the street and everybody's like, yeah, bring them in. Okay,
Well,
I don't know.
I felt as though that's what paragraph 6 there is. It's pretty much the restrictions because it's giving you the no nighttime operations. It's giving you that we're not flying before 7 a.m. It's
we
giving
agree
sun
to
up to
that.
sundown.
But once we agree to, you see, the thing is, you say, yeah, you know, all these restrictions we believe in, but we're gonna follow this rule. And once we say that rule was gonna trump the restrictions we have if there's a conflict, because we agreed to say we're gonna follow that definition, and that's the crux of the thing. All my wish is that, hey, look, I love planes, I love flying and doing all that stuff, but I just also have to protect the neighborhood and protect ourselves from, not just you guys, you know, great, I'm sure you mean everything you're saying, but the next group may not, you know? So at that time, they would have to address the situation like we did with the runway extension, like we're doing with this. Just give us what you want without this type of following, or if you say, using it as a guidance rather than following it, you know, but these, or then I could say it's a guidance thing, not saying we're gonna align with the definition. That's more of a commitment, you know, where we use this as a guideline. And then give us, because what is the purpose of what you're trying to do for this? I mean, what is the crux of this whole thing besides the definition? What are you trying to do that we can't do now?
Well, we have a group of guys with some antique airplanes.
And so you want to
It's
fly
always gonna
different
stay-
crafts.
It's all gonna probably remain that type of grassroots kind of an airport.
Okay. So if we have in here, the restrictions would be, you know, define the restrictions without, we'll try to align with this, rather, you see the alignment that you have in here is committing us to something. But if you use it as a guideline, then it's not as restrictive to us. And if you say, this is what we're looking to do, okay, you know, you want some old aircraft, you want to do this and that. The runway 3,000 foot, yes, I understand. You got only so much power can come off and on that grass. And retractable, I don't know why you do it. How smooth is your runway? Yeah,
The biggest-
retractable,
one of
you
the
can buy
biggest-
new running gear all
one
the
of
time.
One of the biggest limitations, limiting factors, is the insurance industry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys that have these fancy airplanes, insurance won't even let them fly off a grass strip,
Yeah.
let alone a short strip like ours. or some type
But,
of-
but you see my point though is, look, we're not trying to interfere with you, but we don't want to give away the farm. You know,
So then
things change.
my question for you is then on this scope of this proposal, the reason for this was to try to give an understanding of like why we were looking after almost 27 years, why we're looking for a change. And that's because this has opened it up to additional aircraft that can fly. So I was trying to give the background to that. If there's something specific you'd like changed in this, that's fine. Like the rules that are written in paragraph 6 there, those are really what we're looking to adhere to, which is pretty much all of the original restrictions. If there's something specific you'd like changed in paragraph 5 for the conclusion, instead of saying to align, you know, use Mosaic as a guideline with the below restrictions in paragraph 6, we, you know, I can change that.
I think it's probably part of what's in 4, regulatory future proofing, is where Joe is going with it, that automatically changes anytime they change. That's my interpretation of the crux of the matter at this point in time.
Because we don't know what's
It
going to
may
be in the
be
future.
better to, unfortunately, 10 years from now, come in because FAA has made more changes. It's like, okay, we got to tweak it again. My
So, I mean,
guess is
I'm-
it's the automatically part that is the issue.
Yeah, because we're granting you, we're saying now you could follow whatever they say. And it kind of takes it now out of our hands.
If there's a
So-
way of putting verbiage in there of trying to follow, attempting to follow, or maybe that's something that can't be done. But if it's, following guidelines as opposed to automatic changing.
Well, we could take that first bullet out. I mean, that's, if we took that out, then it's just, okay, we're obviously going to comply with safety, and that's the most current FAA airworthiness standard. So as pilots, we have to do that.
Right.
And then community stability.
That
I had in there,
also-
the resolution locks in the prohibition of night flights and commercial training, protecting the peace and the quiet of Freetown Highway Corridor. So that's the part there where we're saying, hey, we're not looking to go to night flying. We're not looking to,
I
cause those
absolutely
problems.
believe, but what I'm saying is the one overriding item on there is saying, look, I can promise you everything, but if I'm gonna follow this one rule that can trump everything that I've agreed to on the bottom,
That's where he's starting.
So if that
then,
bullet's taken
then what
out,
good is the agreement? What good is it? Next, you'll hold your word to it, I believe you will. But again, I can't do it for the next guy. The next guy, and it's whenever we do things, we have to think down the road too of how it affects the community. You guys are great, you can live by the word. Gen Z comes along and says, hey, I've never followed the rules in my life, I'm gonna go do what I want. They make mistakes flying, they only do it once or twice and they're usually done, but, they don't make too many mistakes with an aircraft.
I-
But some people,
Joe,
that's why you have
I-
accidents.
Joe, I think that if that first bullet under number 4 is taken out, I think that would in itself would eliminate that potential happening.
Yeah,
Because
that
in the-
automatic alignment with the FAA Mosaic standard without required repetitive. So every time that thing changes, you're gonna write up what you need broad enough that you think in the near future you're gonna be okay. 2016, you were here 10 years ago.
so I mean, I think if we take that
I think
out, I
we
think
can
we're
live
okay.
with every. They change, but then we don't want to give away the farm as far as our ability to control the use of that land. We can't control what you do in the air because that's the FAA's role, or what the use of the land and the restrictions upon it is what we have control over, right? And again, I have not heard any complaints about the airport, so you guys have been good
Trying to be
neighbors.
Good neighbors.
We've been good neighbors,
25 years
but-
almost,
I've had good neighbors live next to me, move out, and I get somebody after that I wish they would die. I mean, we don't know. Or they wish I was dying, I don't know which way.
Probably that.
But yeah, probably that one, but we don't know. So we have to try to keep this still within the realm of the town's control,
That makes sense.
right? But we wanna also not stop you guys from having fun with your aircraft, because, planes are fun,
You pilot?
No mechanic.
Hmm.
So,
So it's
I'm
really,
gonna-
so really just the objection is in section 4, the first bullet. If I take that out of the application, then that gives everything
and,
back.
and your conclusion, do you seek to align? Well, we use it as a guideline.
Okay,
yeah,
I could take out,
right? You want it as a guideline, because when it's a guideline, it's just, it's a guideline. There's no authority behind it.
and I can even put the 2025 in the third paragraph there. Planning board adopts the 2025 updated resolution. That locks you into what we're looking at right now, not future changes as well.
Okay.
And that's what covers all the
What bullet did you
hours,
say?
days, stuff like that then,
It
right?
changed to
Well,
2025.
there's nothing in
Yeah.
Mosaic that really covers the hours
That-
of
that-
operation.
so much
That's
of
more,
Mosaic change.
that's more
Okay.
us saying,
Oh, that-
we
oh,
don't
that's
want
what
to
you're
fly
referring to,
at
yes.
nighttime.
Yep.
We don't want to fly before 7. There's nothing in Mosaic that says you can't fly before 7 a.m. on a Sunday.
Yep.
We're doing that because,
Right.
But that's
people want
our
to
point,
rest.
though. There's nothing there
Location.
saying, so we have, and every neighborhood restrictions are different based on where you're at, right?
So we're self-imposing those restrictions in paragraph 6. That's what we're looking to add in there.
Well, some of them were the original agreement, and there was also the agreement we had in 2016 on the extension of the runway. And I don't think you had a hard time with that either. I mean, kind of-
We didn't change anything in 2016. All we did was add the property, did a lot line revision to the south end and add that to
And
the property.
I remember we said these same questions came up about the runway and the operation, and everybody agreed, no problem.
2016 or 2015? That map says 2015.
Yeah,
Well,
but
the
they
map
got
was
the-
maybe done and
Oh,
then they
okay.
came
Yeah.
before us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
this is
if
before
I
my
take
time.
out that one bullet, change that to guidelines and put the date in there, and then, do you guys agree with the language that's in paragraph 6? Is there anything that needs to change in that? I think that adequately covers the town and what we're looking to do.
I think that, I feel it covers it.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not trying to, and you got rid of that, camp?
We got rid of, sold it, and then sold it to the New York City Electricians Union,
All right.
and then they hired me to stay on as the facility manager. So it was a win-win situation.
Win-win.
All right.
It's going good. We just started actually, first week.
Yeah, so if you could get us those changes,
I can have those to you to tomorrow. Is the Plattekill email address that I was using for Elizabeth still monitored by somebody? Or,
that's a big
That's a
unknown.
good
yet.
question.
That's, we're working on that.
It'd be better if you brought it in.
Yeah, I mean, you could
If you
email
can,
it. I mean,
email it, give it a shot.
there's a way we could
I
probably.
mean, I can print
get
it out and we can get it dropped off here, you know, that's not a problem. The question is, what's the next steps here? Because I think the planning board was asking for a release from the zoning board. So if I make these changes to the application, then you guys are comfortable sending that back to the planning board, or how do we?
We'd have to, as the group, see the changes. Again, meet and agree to the changes, and we vote on it. And then at that time, the majority will decide to move back to them and say, we agree, this is what we agreed to, the stipulations we agreed to, and
And then I could write Ernie a letter saying, this is what the ZBA
And that'll be
agreed
in the
to.
record.
And it's on the record.
Okay.
and
Well,
then,
I can get those changes made to you and sent that back to you. That's easy enough to make. I mean, that's 10 seconds worth of work on the computer.
Yeah.
And get those back to you. Then, so what you then want to do is you want to have another meeting with the ZBA after I submit this, say, okay, yeah, you made the changes. Okay, we agree to that. Okay, so my only question is there any other changes we agree to take? First bullet out of paragraph 4, instead of saying a line, change that to that we're using this as a guideline in the conclusion. And then we agree with the verbiage as written in paragraph 6 with our restrictions in there. I make those changes, get that back to you. We have a meeting, the next meeting. And then you'd say, okay, take a vote. I'm assuming since we're talking about this, we're all going to align since we're making the changes that we're agreeing to. You say yes, then a letter gets written by you back to the planning board, and then he can take that and do a resolution. Is that the?
yeah, and because history is this, is we agreed to something, somebody writes something up and there's a misunderstanding, they hand us the paperwork and we look at it and go, well, you know, that, then sometimes if you do it right, then there's only a one-shot pony, right? But if you say something different than, you know, just typing, sometimes you get things a little different, then that'll come up at that meeting, and, but if it's right, you know, and that's the process as you understand it.
All right.
Yeah.
And when is the next ZBA meeting?
2 weeks.
The 9th, I think.
Now, we don't have to have a public hearing on this? That's my question. Or is this,
That I don't know.
because that's pertaining to this, are they gonna, so again, you get public input sometimes, and we have to make sure this is not just determination on us, but does it have to be opened up to public scrutiny before we give the okay for determination of what we do? Because we don't want, again, you don't want, and we don't want someone in the public to say, as they see the video here, that you didn't get feedback from the public.
Hearing required for
So we have to,
interpretation?
I don't know.
you know,
Is that normal?
I don't
every time we
think
have
so.
a thing here, we go to public hearing afterwards, and the public has an opportunity at that night. Now, if things go well during the public hearing night, that same night, we make the determination.
What does that require just for,
I don't know, that's what,
you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. You know, one of my questions was, and Elizabeth couldn't find out, was what the original jurisdiction that the ZBA
There's no footprint change to the property.
stepped in and did the notes versus the
but it's a
planning board.
use
And
change.
No one could find any record for back then.
Yeah, I went
So
back
it
through
comes
all of,
into
because I
our
did a
thing,
FOIL
so-
request last year, and I took
So
all of our
we-
records and I went back through it. And the only thing I was able to find, I'll share this with you just in a second. These are the minutes from back in 1999 when we asked for it. But if you look at the last page, it was the planning board who made the resolution,
It's just Brian McKay, I haven't heard his name.
who said, I make a resolution that we, you know, incorporate these guys and with everything else with the restrictions, and we approved it. When we were going through this, it was back to the zoning board and said, hey, do you guys agree with this? Yeah, okay, and then he took the resolution. So the original resolution that incorporated us and set us on the path of being what we are today with the town was done at the planning board. I can't answer to you why it
But when
was
you
done
set
there.
something
But
up, when you're setting something up new, building a house, a plot, whatever it may be, it has to go before planning. Then if planning has a question about use of the property, which probably the airport had a use question, they send it to the zoning board to say, is this within our use, or do we need to give an exemption or something specific for change of use of it? It would say it was farmland and now you're gonna use it for something else. So they have to change the use, and they wanted that in the record before they take the plat and say, okay, you can be an airport, all right? So they were getting their ducks in a row to make sure no one can come back later on and question that you have an airport without anyone ever changing the use. What is that land used for?
And the weird thing is, we're incorporated there as a recreational. So when we did this, the town doesn't
I
have
saw that.
the town doesn't have zoning for an airport, right? So they said, well, we have all these things in outdoor recreational, and then you had the bucket for other. But then when the town wanted to do some of these noise issues with the racetracks and the other problems that were in the town, you changed the zoning, you took that out, we weren't notified, and now when we came in 16 to do the lot line revision, we spent 6 months with the town going to the entire alphabet soup because we were what was called a pre-existing non-conforming entity. So we're here, but there's no code for us anymore. So that became very complicated for that process, and we saw everybody multiple times. And we're still in that because the town hasn't actually written a code for an airport. So if we want to make changes there, we're still pre-existing and non-conforming. So it becomes very difficult to do anything with the property if there's other things we want to do that's not on the current site plan. So
But I believe you got the extension, you went through us and to planning, and that was okay.
well, as the planning, the ZBA, the back to the planning board, it was the
Yeah.
zoning board of appeals, the regular zoning board, and then the zoning board of appeals said, well, why do we have this? The zoning board says, hey, we need a 10-foot setback, let's say, but you only have 5, they can write in, a waiver for that.
Right.
Because we have no code, there's nothing in the book we can go to say, hey, what are you asking for a variance on? So it just went round and round and round until it eventually came back to the planning board, and we said, look, we have a piece of property, you made the change, we didn't, and now we're being taxed and we can't do what we want, we're stuck with this property, and there's no way for us to go forward.
But I remember we came before the zoning and I forget exactly what you needed, but you needed a variance on something for that, on that extension going south, right? And we gave it to you, I believe.
Well, it was, we needed
At
to
that
do,
time.
we wanted to do a lot line revision and add it to the property.
Property, yep.
And it needed, a site plan, and we're going through it,
Yeah,
but then to
that's
get
all
the approval,
standard.
how was that, who was gonna take control of that? And then it just went around and around and around, until finally came back to the town board who said, okay, do that site plan, put everything on it. That's why we put the pavilion that we just built on there, the tractor shed extension, the additional hangars that we're looking to add at the south end. We were told, put everything on there because, don't come back for another site plan because you
Yeah.
can't get from point A to point B.
No, but that's on the planning
So-
board side, and whether the use changes or setbacks or something wrong is when you come to zoning. And you already had pre-existing.
He
So,
asked that question.
I think
so
it had
I'm assuming
offsets or
it went
something
out
on
to
the
public
southern
hearing.
end, it was a problem.
It was huge for safety.
Yeah.
There was a wall of trees that was at the end of the runway. It gives a big safety overrun.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember giving you
Right,
guys a
because why
hard
would you
time
ask
that
that
last
question?
time. I thought it was just the motions we had to go through.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, I remember. Didn't stick in my mind as something that was problematic. Well,
Yeah, but if it looks like they passed a resolution though.
to have the airport.
There was a public hearing on
So there was a public hearing on it.
Interpretation,
Well, initially for building the airport, there was a public hearing for building because we were taking farmland and turning it into an airport. But
okay.
in this case, we're just changing some definitions on the site planning and trying to get it aligned and making sure that it's actually on there, because
That may
there
take
was
a phone
discussions
call.
within our club
Yeah.
that says
Yeah.
that site plan from 2016 doesn't have the restrictions on there, and there's nothing in the town document saying that those restrictions are still going to be in place, and that's the current site map. So we are concerned that if we don't get them back onto a new map, okay, there was a change in administration and whatever else, it could lead to a conflict between the town and whoever's operating the airport, whether it be today or 20 years from now, that site plan doesn't have it on there, and then you end up in a legal battle of that's an official document, the planning board approved it, and the restrictions aren't on there, which is what we want to try to avoid, continue to be good neighbors and get those restrictions on there so that we still have things set up, because,
And just as your concern for future and what's gonna happen down the road, it's also our concern, or my concern, is why the verbiage is correct. So if it's all aligned, everybody's happy.
So I think we're in agreement of removing that, changing that one or two words. You getting the revised copy into us, and I think the question I think that we have remaining is, does this have to go for a public hearing? And that's something we'll have to research through our lawyer.
okay.
If it
And that's
doesn't,
easy enough to get an
yeah,
answer.
no, yeah, we're getting an answer. So if it doesn't, we should be able to take care of this, next meeting. If not, we got to schedule a public hearing.
Okay, and that public hearing obviously won't be scheduled at the July 9th meeting,
2
or?
weeks after that.
Okay.
Because you have to be able to get the mailers out and do all this other stuff, and get the response.
All right, so that's what I'm saying, is if, we just need to know that, because if we don't need that, we can take care of this at July 9th.
Yes.
If we need to do that, then I need to know that, because then it doesn't make sense to come in on the 9th and say, well,
Now, we wouldn't schedule you on the 9th if
Okay.
that's needed. You'd have to get the paperwork so you can mail the stuff out, get the return
Yeah.
mailers, bring back the receipts and that. And that would be the 23rd then, July 23rd.
Well, that's if we,
If we have to get a public
If
hearing,
a public hearing is
Right.
required.
that's the earliest it'll be then.
so,
Check with CDAT.
right, I have to call the attorney.
Because you got something out of the ordinary at the moment, just a redefinition, or is it? We don't want, you don't
Well, he
want, we
wouldn't
don't
be
want the
able-
public
so
to come back
if
later
we
and say
scheduled the public hearing
drag
on
us
the
all
9th,
into
he
court
wouldn't
because
be
we
here
missed
on
a
the 23rd. It would be in
procedural
August.
step.
Well, does he have to come? If he's been on the agenda already, that'd be another question. Do they have to appear again to plan the public hearing?
They wouldn't, but we would have to vote to send it out to public hearing. And then that's, by the time they do the mailers, the notice has to be out in the paper for 12 days. They wouldn't make the next meeting, it would be the following meeting.
Okay,
It
so
would be the
another
first meeting
question,
in August.
is if we know a week from, okay, so if we know a week from now that they're gonna have to have a public hearing, can they start the process
Yeah.
before we vote
Oh,
on the 9th?
oh,
No,
No.
no.
because it's mailing out
Oh,
a certified letter
because
to
the
each property,
information has
but
to
adjacent
but-
property owner.
But it also has to, the public notice has to be written up before you could mail it out, and it's gotta go out,
Right.
12
So what would
days.
happen is on the 9th, we would have to open a public hearing for that.
We
if
would have
need-
to make a motion to send, if it needs it, to
Okay.
send it out to public hearing.
Which would push it to the 23rd.
And then we'd have to draft up the public notice, pretty much your language, go on to, or public notice that the attorney would write up, and it has to be out at least 12 days, and then you have to.
So he gives that notice, and then we take that piece, that notice that he writes up, and that
And-
goes out to the adjoining property
Yeah.
owners.
Yeah,
And that's when we send that certified return receipt, and then we
Correct.
bring those back in and to you
Yeah.
guys.
So you're basically, it would be like 4 weeks after July 9th, whatever the second Thursday in August is what it would.
You think so? I think it'd be earlier than that. Depends how quickly everybody moves.
All I need to know, I'll have this
Right.
ready for you guys tomorrow, because those changes are very minor, and,
hopefully we don't have to go out.
hopefully.
Because it's just updating some language, but no, we have to check with our attorney on that.
So best case scenario, we don't have to for you, and then we'd have the meeting 2 weeks from now. But if not, 2 weeks from now, we have to set public hearing, which again would be, depending on when the stuff gets sent out and back, it could be 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, it can
At
take
best.
some time.
That's best time scenario.
And who's the primary contact for me to send this stuff into, or do we have an account? Because I used to just use Elizabeth, but it wasn't her
Planning.
email, it was just Platikill
Planning.
Planning or whatever it was,
Yeah, I believe they still have, they have access to
Building
it.
department owns it, don't they?
No,
No?
that was Janice, and then Janice sent it to Elizabeth, so.
No, it's just in limbo. Okay, I mean, I'll get that, started up, and, my father here will bring it in tomorrow and drop that off to whoever,
And just go to the window and tell them what you need it for, and they should
get
make
it
sure.
to the zoning board of appeals, and
Yeah,
You know.
you could put, my name or Joe's, and we'll get it.
Okay. Okay, we can do that. That's
All right.
easy enough.
Any other questions or anything like that? You still flying? You still flying? Are you still flying?
Fred?
No. Can hardly walk.
Chris and Joe.
Oh, Chris, okay.
It's still 65 is the age limit on that now?
CHRISS or?
Commercial.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, and then
First
Joe.
name's not.
No, it's not.
Well, yeah, I just put C.
Yeah.
All right.
It's Chris.
Okay.
And then, if you want, I could give you my number if you want to give me a call. I'll
Okay.
give you my cell phone number, 845-494-7938.
So how many hours you have now?
2300 and change.
Okay.
Oh, that's Chris. Sorry.
What are you flying?
I haven't typed it out,
All right. So just trying to make it as
All right.
painless and
Yeah.
easy, but still
Instrument rated?
dot the i's, cross the t's, jump through the hoops,
Yeah,
do what we
make
need
sure all
to do.
the language is, correct and be on your map, and, I'll send a letter to
Because like I said,
Ernie.
we had internal discussions and there was some
sophomore in high school.
political internal clashes. It's
I
not
went
on
to
the
high
map.
school
We
for
don't
that.
have to
I
do
went to
this,
aviation high school,
That's
4
part of
years.
what's driving this too, is
Queens?
we want to get that resolved once and for all and put it on our
Spent
wall.
4 years
without-
doing that stuff.
Yeah, and put that on the wall in the clubhouse so that we, whatever it is that we're doing,
Scholarship for,
this is how we operate. I don't know if you can keep that if you need it.
Oh, okay,
I'll
down
throw
in
in the-
Florida?
Yeah, I just want to,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a professional pilot, but back in those days,
No jobs.
All right.
Carter recession.
I know the
Any other
deal,
questions?
laying everybody
Been very,
off.
very quiet over there?
Yeah. I was trying to get a job with the IAs.
Done. Have your dad
Like-
tell you who I am.
Who do you think is job?
Will do.
Stayed with my parents, my family business.
Yeah.
Flying was a hobby after that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll get
I know the
that
feeling all too
done up. I'll
well.
get him to drop that off to you guys
Kids
tomorrow.
today, tremendous
And then,
opportunities for pilot-
then we just,
professional pilots.
I'll hear back
Do you
from
know
somebody, I'm
Colombo?
assuming via email, because my
He
email's on
graduated
all the
Wallkill,
paperwork.
and he went to
As
BOCES
to whether
for
or not we're
aviation.
ready to go for.
And he went to Embry-Riddle,
Whether
got
we're
his
on for
commercial
July
pilot
Yeah,
license.
I'll,
Is he in the airlines?
I'll reach out to the attorney tomorrow.
Okay.
And, I'll
Yeah,
give him
so he
a
loves
quick
it, you know?
My
call.
son just turned 20.
And he might say, yeah, no, we don't have to go, or we might have to.
Okay, because that'll make life easier. If not, then it's
Well,
July
they go in here
9th. We
to
look at what
BOCES
I
and do it
drafted
for
up.
free.
Hopefully it's good, and then we say, okay, and then we get back on with the planning board, and then they handle their part in doing another resolution, and
They
then
make good money.
we gotta get maps and everything else, so I'll need to know.
Yeah, that would be on.
Then you can fly down to
planning
Florida.
board side.
Okay. All right,
So,
I even graduated.
because I'll need to go back to the engineer who did that map.
You
in
graduated
15,
Wallkill?
16. Marshall's still there in Pine Rouge, I know.
Small,
1973?
And then
57.
get that verbiage plopped back on that map, and then you got so many paper copies and full-size copies and everything else, so we
Yeah.
can do that.
That was
yeah,
it.
because, I mean, based
And-
on, that's what
Started kindergarten
Ernie's letters,
downstairs.
basically just wanted to know,
And you
wanted us to
graduated,
review the
same
language.
building.
Not
and-
anymore.
No, what it might be is,
69 to 72.
they might have you go out to a public hearing.
Yeah, my sister was.
Okay, he didn't seem to, like, he pretty much wanted to try to take care of it last month when we were
My
here,
sister was.
or a couple weeks ago, if he was
my
able
sister
to,
was
but then
72, I
there was a
think.
little,
He was probably my
somebody had a
brother.
little screenshot of like, it said ZBA, and then I showed him that, and he's like, well, the
You
town
have
did
anybody
do it, he
younger than
goes,
you?
but the lawyer was like, well, it's a ZBA, so he's like, all right, that's why he said we'll send you a letter and ask for
Debbie graduated
where it was.
in,
We
Yeah,
thought it
and-
might
and
be,
that-
he
that's
thought
where
it
I
might
was
be,
trying to find the, and the notes
That's
from,
my brother.
yeah, he thought it might be a little
27
quicker and
years,
easier
yeah.
than it was, but, you know, if we got
I remember
two
the
hoops instead of
last
one to
name.
jump through, you know, whatever, it is what it is.
We want to get everything correct,
Yeah,
and everybody's happy, you know, and we protect the community and protect you guys at the same time.
Yeah, that's easy enough. So we'll take care of that, and then I'll just wait to hear from somebody on what we're doing with the 9th. And then, yeah, if we got to do, that'll work smooth there if we can. If not, it's a public hearing, then you'll open that on the 9th, and then we'll get some language, and then we'll have to mail it out. We'll just keep going and jumping through.
That time, they will give you the list of all the people that you have to notify, and then you'll send everybody that's on the list.
Yeah, that's,
You know, usually, well, they usually set you up fairly well, I'll do notifications and stuff.
okay. All right. I appreciate you guys'
All
time
right.
and energy and help, and we're going to keep plugging away.
okay.
All right.
All right,
Yep,
thank
thanks,
you.
You guys don't race the cars on the highway, do you?
No way.
Okay,
Have a plane land on top
Take care, Freddie.
They just had that out in the Midwest somewhere. One,
down in Florida.
Folks,
all right, good night. All right,
And Redwood.
I got no old business. Roberts will be set up for the public hearing, providing that they get us everything back.
I saw the seeker came back.
Yeah, so, but the seeker really doesn't take effect unless, depends on what the vote is.
That's what they were talking about, this guidelines.
And we're address, our concerns in, executive session with
Okay.
what. All right, minutes? All right, does anyone have any changes to the minutes of June 11th?
Nope.
No, I don't have any.
All right, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the June 11th minutes.
Okay, Judy makes motion. Can I
I'll
get a
second it.
Joe seconds it. On the favor? On the favor, on the vote?
Aye.
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 No one opposed. All right. I don't know, before I close the meeting, if there's anything you guys want to discuss? Any questions?
If anyone wants to see the guidelines that I was talking about, this is the actual FAA page with all the guidelines on that mosaic.
The mosaic, okay.
So, and in part of there, they have a lot of things that they can do, and fly different aircraft. And that was a concern. So read these if you wish. It's, part of the FAA website. You can see some of the aircraft that they're able to fly now.
Oh, wow. That's what you were talking about
With the parachutes
with
and
the
everything.
parachutes.
So it
So
opens
that-
them up to a lot of stuff, and I just don't want that.
All right.
Yeah, Mosaic is
Well,
pretty
I
detailed.
say myself, I'm comfortable with that one paragraph taken out.
Yes.
Yes.
Go a long ways in eliminating the potential for this kind of stuff then,
Well, if you look at the things that they permit them to do, it's really broad,
right?
so,
Yeah, and I fully understand, 10 years, 20 years down the road, who knows what their wishes and desires are gonna be. And if Mosaic says, okay, well, you can do this, then, all right, let's do it. So,
okay, so I just wanted to give you that so you'd be able to read it and see what that process is about.
All right. Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Bruce
Aye.
will second?
All right. On the vote?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
What were your conversation on executive session?
Can we stop the recording here?
Um,